Hi, friends. Welcome to Grow to Succeed. It's your place to learn, grow, get inspired, and succeed. Today, I am super happy and excited because I have one of the amazing guests, Pravasi Bhushan, who is the Director of Learning and Development at kipi.bi. He is passionate about learning and growing, both personally as well as professionally. His purpose is to help others learn and grow. Dear friends, Pravashi has achieved multiple certifications from globally renowned organizations, and he has completed his two master's degrees. Yes, two master's degrees. Most importantly, he is currently pursuing doctorate in business administration. Wow, what a fantastic achievement, right? So let's not waste our time and let's get started and let's hear it from Pravasi Bhushan on his learning journey from a student to becoming the director of kipi.bi. Hi, Pravashi. Welcome to Grow to Succeed. And thank you so much for joining with me today. I am super happy and excited. And I am sure the viewers of my channel would love to hear you and learn from you all the insights, all the best practices to become a lifelong learner. Once again, welcome to Grow to Succeed.
Thanks, Wasim. As always, lovely talking to you.
Thank you, Pravashi. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Pravashi, let me take you back to the golden days. The school days are the golden days, right? I'm very curious to understand, as well as my viewers are really curious to understand, how were you as a student?
I was average, probably below average student. I'm sure you would have heard the term backbencher. So for a lot of classes, I used to be the backbencher, creating a lot of nuisance in the class.
Oh,
And yeah, so all my schooling, I of course did enough so that I can move to the next class, and did enough that I got admission in Delhi University in a regular college.
okay.
However, the reason I say I was definitely below average was because both my brothers, I'm the youngest of the three. Both my elder brothers were super academic. One of them is a plastic surgeon today. Another one is a solution architect. And they were extremely good. So they were in their 90s. So we were in terms of, if I compare board exams, and I was not even close to that.
Right.
If I thankfully, I'm very happy today that I did my schooling and graduation in the 90s. Because now when I look back and the scores that I had gotten back then, I wouldn't have gotten admission into Delhi University because everything
Right.
goes right these days. So that's how I was as a student in school. A lot of my time used to be on the playground because I was in love with football back then, and so a lot of my free time at least used to be there.
Right.
And however, things changed when I got into my graduation because I think something switched on at that point. One was, of course, my professors were quite invested in me. That's the first point in my life, and I can remember when teachers were really interested in success of me as an individual. So they not only nurtured me towards academics, but they also encouraged me to participate in different things. For example, extracurricular activities, representing the college in quiz competitions and those kind of things. What it did was it built a lot of, I was a confident kid always. But this kind of interest in me built a lot of confidence as a student in me, that teachers believe that I am a good student and I can do well.
Right.
And that made a lot of difference. Another difference that happened was in my first year graduation, where during the final exams, I was extremely unwell. I was down with jaundice. I
Mhm.
was extremely weak, completely bedridden for I think 2 or 3 weeks. In fact, I remember my first exam, my dad came along, he carried the bag and the glucose bottle and everything. I could hardly sit for 45 minutes to an hour in that exam
Okay.
because I was so weak that I couldn't sit anymore. But the fear of flunking a class and the fear of my peers becoming my seniors the next year
Right.
push to study for the rest of the exams. And I surprised myself because I scored well. I got fourth rank in the college, and I was like,
Wow.
okay, if we can do that in these situations, why not do it regularly?
True.
So there things change, and overall, I would say in graduation, I across 3 years, I stood second in my college. In the final year, I topped the college. Then I got into masters again in Delhi University through an entrance exam. Stood second in Delhi University across my 2 years of masters.
Wow.
Then got a fellowship to do my research from UGC.
Mhm.
Started my research in sciences. Did 1 year of that. Got extremely bored of it. Came out, did my, and that's when I realized that I like to be around people. So
Right.
that's where my eldest brother recommended, why don't you do MBA? Because
Mhm.
that's where you will be with a lot of people. Did MBA and then started my work life. But I have continued to be a student all throughout. And over the years, just to share, I have earned two masters, one postgraduate diploma, and currently I'm doing my doctorate in business administration. So I've not
Wow.
left learning the formal learning. Of course, the informal
Right.
learning keeps happening, but I have ensured that formal learning is still a part of my life.
Wow, Pravashi, what a fantastic journey. It's so inspiring, and hearty congratulations on achieving multiple certifications from the reputed organizations on the planet, as well as two master's degrees. Plus, you are pursuing the doctorate. Wow, this is super awesome. What challenges did you basically face as a student related to academics?
So, if I think back, I can't think of any challenges because I was very fortunate to be in a family and in an ecosystem where academics were very important. However, they never came in the way of my childhood, and I'll explain what I mean by that.
Hmm.
So, as I was saying, both my elder brothers were extremely academic.
Right,
Uh, One of them, the one who is a doctor today, he did his MBBS from JIPMER, which is probably amongst the top two or three medical institutions in India.
right,
You know how difficult it is to crack such entrance exams in India with so many people appearing for it. When he appeared for his plastic surgery specialization entrance, he topped India in that entrance exam. So that's how good he was.
right.
My father scored in his 90s back then, which was not very common as it is today. And he got into one of the best colleges of Delhi University. He got offers from all colleges of Delhi University. He chose one of the
Wow.
best and did his physics honors and then went on to do his master's in computer applications. So I was always in an ecosystem where academics was important, and thankfully, and the reason I say it didn't compromise my childhood was, even though I wasn't as good as they were,
Hmm.
my thankfully my parents never did that comparison that look how
Right,
good your brothers are versus you. Unfortunately, my teachers were not as kind. We were till
right.
seventh or eighth, all three of us were in the same school.
Okay.
So both my brothers had gone through the same teacher set of teachers that I was going through, and very often I would hear, how come your brothers are so good and you aren't?
Right,
Backbencher, a sort of a naughty kid in the class, right? So I think that was the only challenge wherein comparisons were happening in school, but thankfully that never happened in real world or at my home. So I wouldn't say there weren't any, or I wouldn't say there were big challenges in front of me. What I probably lagged in school and I was able to build later was an interest in learning. And when I say over here interest in learning, I'm talking about academics. Of course, there will learning can be a very vast field, right? You
Right.
can learn on classroom as well. So I did, as I was saying, I was in love with football. So I
Hmm.
did enjoy it. I loved a lot of sports. I learned a lot of sports, played them. So which was great. It taught me a lot of things which are coming handy today. For example, teamwork, how to lose a match and still be happy about the fact that you
Right.
played well. Those kind of things, they become lifelong lessons.
Hmm.
But if I only look at my journey as an academic student, then the only challenge that I can see is that my own interest in academics probably wasn't that great in school versus rest of my life. And probably I can say that I hadn't, and I don't know if you have heard the term, Wasim, what's in it for me, WIFM. I
Right.
think in school, I just couldn't figure out why should I be investing so much time and effort in studies. If you score a certain percentage, you move to the next class. Then what's the
Right.
point of doing much more than that, right?
Right.
At a late stage is when I realized that how important it is. So I think what was missing was the what's in it for me element during school.
Okay. Okay. All right. So Pravashi, I did hear that you were number one last bencher, right? Like me. I was also a last bencher, and you were average student, and there was a trigger that happened to you at some point, and because of that trigger, from being an average student, you started becoming a topper of the institution. So, what qualities did you start practicing? What actions did you start taking? In simple words, if I may ask, what are your tips for those average students who wants to excel in their academics?
Okay, so I'll probably start with something which my elder brother once told me, and it has resonated so well throughout since then. Is at one point in your life you will have to put in a lot of effort to do something
Right.
if you want. So it can be anything. If you're interested in sports, then you will have to put in a lot of effort to be really good at that sport so that you are much better than the rest.
Hmm.
Or if it is academics, then that's that. If it's your job, so that has stuck with me. So and what changed, I think, was, as I was saying, first year of graduation, last minute, and I was always that kind of student who would start studying probably a week before the exams, knowing that okay, I
Right.
can clear in
Yeah.
that much
Yeah.
effort. Which is exactly what I did in that year as well, the first year of my graduation. But when I realized that if I put in that extra effort of being interested, and over at that point, the fear was my driver. Fear of failing a class was my driver, that I will be behind my peers. But
Okay.
once I came on the other side and I could get a rank just based on that kind of effort, I realized that if I just do it more consistently through the year, then it will be a much easier journey, and the rewards could be much better. So the only piece that I changed was I became a bit more consistent. I wouldn't say that I was studying every day for X number of hours, but
Right.
I became a bit more consistent. I was more focused on what was happening in the class, which helped me a lot uh, to just ensure that I could follow everything that the prof was saying. And then if there was any assignment or anything, I would go ahead and do it on time so that the consistency piece came into my life, and I think I was a bit more disciplined than what I was before. So those were
Right.
the pieces I brought in, and I would say it's the same thing for anyone that I would suggest today.
Hmm.
Uh, if you are a bit more consistent, if you are a bit more disciplined, then you can make a huge difference. If you do something for 10 minutes a day across the entire year, it's way more effective than spending the last 3 4 days and trying to do 10 hours in those 3 4 days. So that's the change in approach that I took.
Okay. Awesome. Amazing tips. Thank you so much, Pravashi. So, dear students and friends, the secret of success for Pravasi was number one, consistent learning, being focused, hardworking, and disciplined. So I am sure you are going to take away these tips from Prawashi and then start implementing in your studies and every walk of your life. Thank you so much, Prawashi. That was amazing. And now, Prawashi, I call 21st century as the father of all the ages because we're living in the age of information, age of technology, age of artificial intelligence, age of communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, problem solving like never before. And now, most importantly, we're living in the age of learning, 21st century, right? So, why should we even learn to that extent so we can become successful in every walk of our life? So, why consistent learning is important in 21st century?
See, from specifically, if I can look at it from a corporate perspective, what has happened over the years is if I just go back a few generations, if you joined, if you started your work life, let's say in 1960s, you could come to the job with certain set of skills, and
Right.
literally till your retirement, you could stick with the same set of skills and still survive, right? So
True.
that's how it was.
Yeah.
And I may be exaggerating it, but in general, that's how I see it. Probably some bit of upskilling was needed, some bit of learning new skills, but not as rigorous as what we are seeing today. Today, what's happening is, on the other hand, this is part of World Economic Forum report, that the average half-life of any skill is around 5 years.
Right.
So essentially, what that means is every 5 years you need to have a new skill if you want to just survive in your role. If you have to, and that's just survival. If you have to
Right.
do well, then clearly you have to be ahead of the curve. So probably you have to learn a new skill every 2 years, 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And what's happening is, with the advent of new technology, for example, this year we have seen how generative AI has disrupted a lot of organizations and economies. Now, what this is doing is that the current generation has got a lot of information almost at their fingertips. So what they had to, or what we had to focus on when we were starting our careers, they literally have it already available to them through a tool, and they can invest their time in learning something which is a higher order skill. So
Right.
that's what changing, that skills, the half-life of skills has reduced dramatically, and they continue to reduce. And that's one. Newer skills are needed if you want to differentiate yourself and do well. Even if you have to just survive, you still need to learn new skills. And
Right.
more importantly, a lot of skills that were very important, let's say 10, 15 years back, today there is an opportunity, or there's a possibility that machines can do that job.
Right.
And as you and I both know, machines, when they start doing a job, their tendency to do a job with higher efficiency is much more than humans, even higher accuracy. Where we come into play is where we have to, as you were rightly saying, critical thinking, creativity, being a bit more emotional about, or using our emotional intelligence when we are dealing with people. And these are things that will continue to be a differentiator for humans versus machines. But we will have to constantly upskill ourselves so that things that machines can do, we are doing it much better.
Right.
And because I spoke about generative AI, one of the things that I would like to share with your audience is that it's not that it's going to take away all the jobs. In fact, again, World Economic Forum says that the number of jobs it will take away will be lesser than the number of jobs it will create. So
Right.
essentially, we have to look at it that, okay, this is a great tool which can take us to the next level. For example, when computers were introduced, a lot of people felt that the jobs, for example, the job of
Right.
bookkeeping, it will go away. But now you realize that computers are a tool that has helped us do our jobs better rather than take away our jobs.
Right.
So it will be those people who constantly learn new skills, and learn how to use these new technologies to their advantage, those are the people who will survive and thrive in the upcoming world.
Right, right. So very well said. Thank you so much, Pravashi, for sharing all those insights. Um, because we are talking about consistent learning, learning in 21st century. Um, I am super curious to understand your personal strategies to learn consistently, because you are a lifelong learner, right? So you are a consistent learner. So what keeps you motivating every single day? Because you have earned 2 master's degrees, multiple certification programs from reputed organizations, plus you are currently pursuing doctorate in business administration. So what is motivating you? And if I want to become someone like you, what should I do? And of course, there are thousands of students who really want to succeed by learning. What are your personal strategies?
So, Basim, at some point, I think I found that learning was my passion. In fact, self-development and learning is my passion, and helping others learn and grow is my purpose. That's what
Right,
gives me some happiness. That's probably the reason I started my career in the L&D or learning and development space, and I have been in that space for the last 18 years,
right,
and I plan to continue in it. Right. So, learning for me is something that is very close to my heart. What I have been doing over the years is I've tried to identify at least one skill. I wouldn't say certification, I would say one skill.
right.
And then I tried to figure out what's the best way of learning that skill. At times it comes along with a certification, at times it doesn't. I'll give you very simple examples. Another passion of mine is photography. So I
Right.
invest a lot of time in learning how to use cameras. I started using DSLR in 2014, 2015. And since then, I've tried to learn how to what's the shutter speed, how to change different settings in the
Right.
DSLR so that outcome is better. So it doesn't come with any sort of certification, but the sheer happiness of learning and the outcome of that learning, which are my photographs, that's the one that keeps me going. On the other hand, there are a lot of skills that I've learned which have helped me not only learn the skill but also earn a certification. For example, I was talking about instructional design, where I spend a lot of my work life.
Right.
Interest was purely by accident. My wife joined a course on instructional design. And books were delivered. I was reading one of the books, got interested in instructional design. I took up the same course,
Right.
and eventually I moved into the instructional design domain, while my wife moved in the domain that she was already in.
Right.
A lot of these things, I learn a new skill, and it comes along with the certification. The reason I'm doing my doctorate is primarily I wanted to push myself in areas that I haven't yet delved deeper in.
Right.
I'm a strong believer of a scientific approach to everything. I'm From a social styles perspective, I'm an analytical thinker. So I
Right.
rely a lot on data. Is there evidence and those kind of things, even in what I do at work life. And that's where the natural logical step for me was, and also as you as you have said,
Right.
2 master's degrees. For me, the natural logical step was, okay, let me give doctorate a shot,
Right.
and that got into the doctorate program for with SP Jam. And here the journey has been extremely interesting. I'm still in that journey. I've not yet earned my doctorate. Hopefully in a year I will do
Right.
that. But the journey of interacting with a professor, learning critical thinking, learning how to analyze things from my professors has been a huge learning for me,
Right.
because a very different perspective when you are learning it from an academics perspective or academician's perspective versus what we have seen on the business side.
Right.
So these are things that keep me motivated to learn and go in for either additional certifications or just learn a skill without a certification. Having said that, what I will definitely say is most likely after I complete earn my doctorate, I most likely will be taking a couple of years break from formal education and probably will pursue learning. For example, I'll continue to invest in my in learning photography.
Right.
But I say that I'll take a break from formal learning for at least a year or two. Is for the last 4 years, 2020, I started my doctorate program.
Hmm.
For the last 4 years, it has been 5 days of working in office
Right.
and two studying during the
Right.
weekend. At times, it just becomes too much. Once I do that, and the reason I wanted to share this is I wanted to share with you as well as your viewers is don't burn yourself beyond a certain point,
Right.
because if you stop enjoying what you're doing, then learning will stop automatically. So
Absolutely.
I want to keep that flame burning. So right now my biggest goal is to earn that degree that I have been pursuing for the last 3 4 years. And once I do that, I'll probably take a short break and then just relax a bit and
Right.
then come back.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Pravashi. And uh, Pravashi, in this journey, I have been counseling thousands of students. I started this journey in 2018. Since then, I got an opportunity to connect, communicate, collaborate, motivate, inspire, coach, empower, and then counsel thousands of students. So far, I have connected more than 30 plus thousand students. And whenever I do get a chance to meet all categories of students, right? Because 30 plus thousand students, and very interesting category of students come from a mindset that they say education is not important, learning is not important, and they give examples of Bill Gates, they give examples of Mark Zuckerberg, Sachin Tendulkar, because they all were college dropouts. And they say, yeah, if they can do it, why can't I do it? What advice do you have for those category of students?
I'll say a few things. One is that you need to look at the probability of what these examples are. So if let's say I don't know what 10 billion, 100 billion, I don't know what's the
Right,
world's population, but you have one Mark from coming from that, one Bill Gates coming from
right.
that, one Sir coming from that. So look at the probability.
Hmm.
If you are as good as they are, that you will be one in a billion, absolutely.
Right,
And really these people themselves didn't know that they will be one in a billion. So now I'll tell you what their track record says beyond them dropping out.
right,
Their track record says that both Mark as well as Bill Gates, they invested a lot in their academics. It's not that they weren't academically strong. They got into premier institutions and then
right,
they realized that they had something which they wanted to pursue and they invested a lot of effort and time in it, and they built their empire from there, right?
right,
uh Similarly, a person like Sachin, for that matter, Virat Kohli, or any sports person, these people invest a lot of their time and effort in learning that skill, right?
right.
And as I said, learning is not just about formal school or
Hmm.
college education. It is about learning a skill which wherein you are so good that you are able to differentiate yourself from everyone else who is in that particular domain. That's exactly what Sachin
Right.
did. What, let's say, Virat Kohli
Yes.
has done. Pick up from other sports, for example, Saina Nehwal. You have Sania Mirza. You have a lot of PV Sindhu. A lot of people who have done extremely well in a different domain than academics. But
Right.
if you look at their journey, they invested a lot of time and effort in building that skill. So my recommendation to all your viewers would be that if you have identified one area where you would like to build your life, then that's where you should start learning about that skill. You should start investing a lot of your time and effort, because you, as I said earlier, you have to at one point put in a lot of effort and focus and discipline to differentiate yourself so that you can be successful. Be
Right.
it in sports, be it in business, be it in academics, it could be in anything. But one place where you definitely want to invest a lot of your time and effort.
Right. Right. All right. Awesome. So, Pravashi, thank you so much. Really appreciate you sharing all those fantastic insights. So, dear students and friends, this is Pravashi who has shared his life experience with us. He is a lifelong learner. And I do have a key message for you. The message is, please understand the difference between studying and learning. Remember one thing, the outcome of studying is knowledge. If you read something with understanding, that means studying. And if you apply knowledge to get an outcome, it means learning. Application of knowledge is learning. Now, I am sure many students, they say Bill Gates, Sachin Tendulkar, Mark Zuckerberg, they were college dropouts. But remember one thing, they never stopped their journey of gaining knowledge and applying knowledge to become what they became in their life. So with this, thank you so much, Pravashi. Truly, truly appreciate your valuable time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Vaseem. Lovely chatting with you as always. Hope you have a lovely Sunday.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much, Pravashi. Take care. Bye for now.